Another sofa sermon, and I think it's time for a message of hope. So let's turn to Ruth and see what she's got for us. The story of Ruth is one of the most profound and amazing stories that we find in the Bible today. In many ways, the story was over in verse 5 with the death of Naomi's husband and sons. In this culture at the time, without men, women could not survive. They had no rights to land or to money. She should have perished there and the story should have been over. She had nothing and no rights to get anything. But we all know that's not where the story ended. By the end of chapter 1, we find Ruth and Naomi in a very, very, very dire and desperate situation. The future was looking bleak for them, and it did actually look as if they weren't going to have a future. But yet, we see that this isn't the end of the story, and it really is one of the best stories about God's provision in times of desperate need. Ruth is from Moab, and she most likely would have worshipped other gods like people at that time. Her making the commitment to Naomi and to worshipping our God really pays off, and we can see this in verse 16. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. I like to think that this verse was actually reflective of God. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. We're at the moment staying at home, spending time at home with family or away from family. We're spending lots of time just in our house, locked away. But God's there with you. He's there every step of the way. He's there every morning when you wake up, and where you stay, He will also stay. When you read further on in Ruth 2 verse 3, it says the line, as it turns out. Things don't just turn out. It was God's plan. God was at work, even in the most desperate of times, when Ruth and Naomi were at their rock bottom, most desperate of times. Would you not say that we're there right now? With everything that's going on, with the coronavirus, the lockdowns, the isolation, with everything that's going on, are we not at rock bottom right now? Are we not struggling as a world right now? I'd say yes. Do we trust that God is working in the same way that when Ruth and Naomi were struggling? Do we not trust that God's working on His world right now? God brought these women out of these desperate situations. He didn't leave them there. And so a story in the Bible that begins with hopelessness and despair ends with hope and a purpose. We may feel at the start of this story right now, you know, we're at our rock bottom. We're basically just could not be struggling more as a world right now. The world that we know and that we love, God's world, is just completely different to how it was maybe even 3-4 weeks ago. And we might feel hopeless and we might feel despair, but we know that God's stories end with hope and a purpose. And my hope and my message of hope today is that out of this situation we come out with a new hope in God and a new purpose for what He wants for His kingdom. Now, I hope this message has brought a sense of hope and excitement for what God's doing, but also has brought a rest and a peace that even at this most desperate of times, we know that God is still working. He's still doing things, and we might not be able to see Him, but right now He is working for the good of all. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the third ever Sofa sermon, and we hope it brought a message of hope to you at this obviously quite difficult time. We know that God is with us, and we hope that you'll be with us to watch the next one on Thursday, and also can find us on Facebook at Grimsby Nazarene. Thank you once again for listening, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.